we didn't see them as a threat at the time, you know, like we looked at them kind of like as another Friendster, you know, because it was so small, and we're like, it's just schools, you know, it's not really anything, you know, it's not anymore, and it looked so boring compared to what we had.
The old Facebook was very boring.
Yeah, it was really boring. I mean, the new Facebook still is, right? Like my mom's on it, you know, and
it's for moms and dads now.
Yeah, it really is.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Ted Dhanik here today. We got a lot to talk about, my friend.
Let's go.
You've been going viral. So right now you're in an interesting phase of your business career, right? You're buying up companies at the moment.
Well, I was, and so I just got out of a public company. I took a company public, ran it for 7 years, and then exited about a year ago. So I was buying a bunch of companies during that time, and then I'm kind of on a sabbatical right now. So yeah, the whole buying companies thing, I've been doing that for a long time, and doing it mostly without cash, and so
creative financing.
Not even. It's really just selling dreams, you know, and you know, leveraging the concept of public vehicle eventually.
Interesting.
Just buying with private paper and selling a dream, and then eventually just rolling it up and taking it public, you know.
Yeah. So I've heard multiple people try to do this, and it seems like you really need the right team to pull something like that off, right?
Yeah. I mean, you need a good mentor, someone who's done it before several times, and I had a really great mentor who, you know, just introduced me to the concept. And I talk about this a lot with people all the time. It's like, you got to be really careful who's around you, you know, the 5 or 7 people that are around you, because they're going to either determine what you do next. You're going to either take a company public, or you're going to end up, you know, working at Walmart.
Right.
So, you know, and luckily for me, I ended up with this gentleman around me. His name's Robbie Lee, and he took a dry cleaning roll-up public. It was the largest roll-up in history for dry cleaning, and he was running around buying mom and pop dry cleaning operations with no cash, just, you know, in a private vehicle, issuing private paper, which is stock, you know, and equity in a private company, which was worth nothing, you know, and convincing them, just selling them the dream really well, convincing them that we're going public. You were going to take this thing public, and it was a multi-billion-dollar exit for, you know, and everyone won and did well, you know. And so he was showing me how to do all this stuff, you know, and so I figured it out. Started acquiring stuff, and then took it public and did it again as well. So,
nice.
So yeah, now I know, you know, it's like you have cash, which is like typical currency, which could come from debt or, you know, or, you know, whatever is on the balance sheet, or you can you could leverage equity, and if you do it the right way with the right team, you can paint a picture that's way more attractive than cash, because you know, you could set a future valuation as well too, and then you could achieve stuff that you can't right now. You know, like all these guys are like, oh, we can't do anything without raising money and all that, and came from the creative world of like, hey, I don't want to give up board seats, and I don't want to give up control, and I don't want to, you know, I don't want dilution, and I don't want to end up in a coup situation.
Right.
So we leveraged it in a really creative way.
Yeah, that's smart, because when it comes to just leveraging cash, that kind of caps you, right? Some people don't have any money. Some
Absolutely.
people have very little. But when you're able to find other leverage, you can scale quicker.
Yeah, it's a tough time right now for cash, you know, because leverage is really expensive. And, you know, cash is king, because everyone's liquidating assets to generate cash, essentially. And then they end up with cash and they don't know what to do with it. But at the end of the day, you know, when the markets are kind of the way they are, it's always kind of a good time, you know, because there's nowhere to go but up, right? So there's a lot of markets and a lot of exchanges where your valuation could be a lot stronger than the comps here in the U.S. And that's what I learned actually too. So if I'm going to do another roll-up, and take it public, I'm going to look at all the global markets and all the exchanges and see where the comps are the best, you know, the revenue multiples, or is it a multiple of EBITDA, or is it revenue, depending on the sector, and choose the exchange from there, because it doesn't have to be here. Because I filed an S1 here in 2016 to go public here, and then the comps ended up, I mean, they were great. They were like 25 times revenue at the time. In like 2014, 15, when I paid EY like years for years to audit my financials and spent millions of dollars. And then by the time we were done, the comps went to shit and went to point one times revenue. And and it was like a tenth times and it was just like, I can't go public here. I can't do it. It didn't make sense. So I found an exchange where it made sense, and it was Australia. And, I got like 6 times revenue or something like that over there. And then we just grew it. But, it's just, like you got to figure out where the valuation is, where the comps are strong.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just kind of stuck to the U.S. markets. And then once you list somewhere else, you can actually cross-list within, like 60 days back here with the same valuation that you have over there.
Twice the money.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you operate that, eventually you deprecate the international listing, so you could just like end up here,
right
back here when it makes sense and the volume's strong.
It's cool to see this way of making money with stocks, because most people just think of buying and trading stocks, but this is a whole nother level.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great arbitrage. You can look at companies that, in from a comp standpoint, where are the valuations, as far as, is it a revenue multiple? Is it an EBITDA multiple? Like, what is it? Like, you can turn around some companies too, and you can look at them. If you're an operator, you can take some assets that are potentially distressed or slightly distressed, like maybe you have a management team that's not proficient, or you could bundle, like classic roll-up strategy is what we want to do is leverage resources together. So we'll have like one accounting team, like one core operating team, and then you'll have like different business units, you can put it all together and just eliminate those costs. That's why roll-up is really smart usually.
Yeah.
You can share resources, and then, and then that alone might, tip it into positive EBITDA territory, and then you'll get, like just clearly have a better multiple just from that alone.
Absolutely. What were you doing prior to this?
So this company that I ran, I basically ran it I launched it, founded it, and it was 2009. So I'll start like from the mid 90s is where I started my career in the Silicon Valley. And I was working for a lot of .coms and startups, back then that disappeared or did well or whatever. And then I ended up in LA, this company called Lower My Bills, and it's still around. And I was one of the early guys there. Built a product there to go after LendingTree. LendingTree was the biggest consumer finance or mortgage and real estate lead aggregator, or lead develop generator essentially online. And so I said, that's a great business. Let's replicate it, fast follow it. And we did that. And we scaled it and got to, like over $1 million a day in revenue. Sold it to Experian. And then, I said, hey, like, I don't want to work anymore. I'm done, for a while. I felt like my background's in sales and business development. So I felt like, sales just sucked the soul out of me,
Right.
Like I'm selling nothing that makes any value in this world. At the time, it's like the opposite of spirituality. It's like selling leads.
We're gonna dive into that too.
Yeah, I'm heavy in that world. So, I said, no, I can't do this anymore. And then MySpace Tom and I, we're all like, friends, because we all were in the same office at the time too. We subleased part of our office to one of their previous businesses before, It's called a company called ResponseBase. So Tom's like, hey, we're going after Friendster. Let's go. I said, I don't really want to work, dude, And he's like, oh, let's throw some parties. And so I said, okay, cool. Let's go. Let's throw parties. And we did. We threw parties and to launch MySpace. So we launched MySpace in 2003 and continued to grow it, and sold it about 18 months later, but our earnout ended in 2008.
Wait, it sold in 18 months?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't
18
know that.
months.
I thought it was around for years.
Well, it was around for years. It was, but then we got out we sold it in 18 months, and then we really lost all strategic control of it because there was a hiring freeze and everything. That's why MySpace failed. This was the hiring freeze immediately after acquisition. Rupert Murdoch destroyed it.
So why did they put that freeze? Were the books not good, or?
So we were losing a ton of money because we're in growth, right? So we're like 18-month-old company, had more traffic than Google.
Right.
Growing, like user acquisition was like it was like 500,000 users a day or something crazy. Damn. Yeah, it was insane. We weren't spending a dollar on any of that, And so we were a lot of engineering costs and a lot of infrastructure costs. At the time there was no cloud computing.
Got it.
So we created our own cloud in memory, a mesh network of memory across the world in data centers, and servers. We had our own servers and stuff. So we created this. So it was really expensive, from a, bandwidth and all this stuff standpoint. We weren't like mature from a monetization perspective yet either. So, we were losing a lot of money. And it's typical, it's kind of like Facebook lost, billions of dollars before it, generated even $1 of revenue, which was smart. So when we got acquired, Rupert Murdoch, classic, media operator, and thinks like a private equity shop, this company can be profitable right away, right? And so...
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
Smash the platform with ads, like so many more ads. It was insane. And then hiring freeze at the same time. So we got blasted with spam. And we couldn't keep up, with the growth. It's just like the user experience was degrading fast. And there's so many ads and spam and, all this like malware was coming through. So, he was trying to lean it out, cut the cost, and at the same time increase the revenue. This is what like a classic, media operator would do, right? But didn't realize that this was like a different situation. This was like the biggest thing the world has ever seen, Right. Anyways, so yeah, I started to like fail. And then as far as, from a user experience standpoint, and then shortly after, like I was like 2006, 2007 is when Facebook started to really like leverage the opportunity, and they say, let's open it up. So they opened it up to outside of schools and just everyone, and that's when they kind of like blew up, and then they didn't have any monetization in place. They had no ads or anything, so user experience was great, even though Facebook was pretty boring.
Yeah, there was no ads for a while.
Yeah, there's no ads for a long time. And so that, and they basically just wanted to gain market share and then eventually monetize it, So which was really smart.
Did you see them coming at all, or did you?
We knew who they were, and we had opportunity. We had discussions with them. There was an opportunity to acquire them at one point too, very
really?
Early. Yeah,
wow.
But we just didn't see them. No, I didn't meet Mark. It was Tom and Chris. But we didn't see them as a threat at the time. Like we looked at them kind of like as another Friendster, because it was so small, and we're like, it's just schools, it's not really anything. It's not anymore, and it looked so boring compared to what we had.
The old Facebook was very boring.
Yeah, it was really boring. I mean, the new Facebook still is, right? Like, my mom's on it, and
it's for moms and dads now.
Yeah, it really is, and so yeah, there was like a lot of that, and then in 2008 when we were leaving, I said, hey, we have a big problem. We have about 7 to 10 billion ads a day on MySpace, huge volume, right? Like a lot of traffic still. Under monetized, we're going at like a penny CPM, like really, really low, cost per 1,000 impressions. And so I wanted to build a technology to make sense of it and monetize it and, help MySpace generate incremental revenue, right? So I left the blessing of management and say, like, hey, we're going to build this technology. It's basically an ad mediation platform. So I left and launched my next company. Yeah, and then so like within the, first 3 months, we were profitable in the first month. It was crazy. And then eventually, like we never raised any money until the IPO. Like we did hundreds of millions in revenue before we raised $1.
Damn.
Had no debt or anything either. It was crazy. And then within the first 3 months, we started getting other publishers. And then within 6 months, we had ComScore top 500 publishers. The top 500 publishers like Weather.com, Dictionary, like all CNN, all of them, as clients of ours. So we were doing monetization optimization for them, and so it was like a monetization optimization technology. It was just the margins were crazy. We were crushing, and it was refreshing because we didn't have anyone on the board. It was us on
Just
the board.
guys.
Just it was 3 of us, you know, and that was it, And we had hundreds of employees, and within the first couple of years, and then it just ended up just kept growing, and then we evolved and then turned into a programmatic ad exchange eventually, and then yeah, that was that business.
That's
and
huge. So how was it able to identify monetization strategies with these big companies? It was a technology?
It was a technology basically that tracked monetization, and the challenges were that these guys were just giving away ads, like on a honor system, and then they would have to report at the end of the month what kind of revenue they generated from it, like on a rev share.
Got it.
And so we said, no, we want that on every impression. We want to know at the end of that impression, like that one ad that was served, we want to know at real time what it generated. Like I need to know, like, so here's a pixel, and fire this pixel and give me a value.
Oh, so you had a pixel before Facebook?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. So here's the pixel, fire it and put a value in there dynamically. Tell me what that impression generated, as far as revenue. And so we did that. And so like we would prioritize the advertisers, and we prioritize them and based on the yield, right? So we'd give more impressions to guys that are generating higher revenue and less impressions to the ones, and we'd phase out the guys that are like, basically not generating anything for us. And so that made a huge difference, It was really early in the game. Now it's super sophisticated, but
Right.
that's like the early part of it.
Yeah, you were very early because Alex Becker with Hyros, I mean, that's a 9-figure company too, and it's all just tracking. So you never realize how much money's in tracking until I guess you're in the weeds of it.
Yeah, the attribution world is, it's really great. Like, because especially in ads, because then you can spend more money on the stuff that works, and from a performance advertiser's perspective, and most advertisers today are tracking performance anyways,
Right.
So it makes the biggest difference.
Absolutely. I want to dive into the spiritual side of things. This
Sure.
is where I like to talk about. I saw you on another podcast talking about microdosing, actually.
Okay.
So you are microdosing psilocybin right now?
Sure. So, like I grew up Hindu and my parents are Hindu. I'm from India. Everyone thinks I'm like either black or like Brazilian or something like that. It's kind of crazy. But I grew up Hindu, and my parents are practicing, so I'm like sitting there like really young, like chanting these Sanskrit mantras in my head and thinking I'm meditating. I don't know what it was. It was like prayer or something. And then eventually I learned TM, and I learned that okay, that's actually meditating, and I get in this like really deep meditative state, with transcendental meditation. It's really awesome. And then like 3 years ago, I discovered microdosing psilocybin.
Right.
I have never really done any other drugs. Like it was just weed, that, and MDMA, and I haven't touched MDMA for like over 20 years. And psilocybin, I didn't want to. It's like, oh, it's a drug, And then one of my friends, he's a really smart guy. He basically sold the company to Facebook several years ago, built another $3-4 billion business. And he told me that everything that he learned in the last 15 years or built, the ideas came from mushroom journeys. And so I'm just thinking like, wow, that's really incredible, but I don't do drugs, So nice try,
Yeah.
He said, okay, you're a smart guy. I'm going to send you a bunch of shit to read. It's like, okay, go ahead, Send me double-blind placebo-controlled studies of the effects of psilocybin on your brain. About neurogenesis, like how it's, spawning neurogenesis, which is like creation of brain cells while you're on it, which is profound because if you think about it, everything you do, alcohol, weed, anything else that feels good, you're killing brain cells, right? But this is different. And then in addition to that, the neuroplasticity and then the neural network connections, like learning complex math or a new language, that's really profound, And so I got a lot of benefit from it. So I started learning about the effects of this before I even tried it. And then I tried it, and I thought it was fantastic. I haven't had any alcohol in like 4.5 years.
Wow.
I don't drink because I can't process alcohol well. I get migraines right away.
I'm allergic, actually. I
Yeah.
get red as fuck. Like,
Yeah,
crazy.
so I feel like it was never the right thing for me. So I just wanted to be able to say I'll never drink again, And I feel so much better, and I'm leaner, and never really drank much, anyways. The psilocybin, what it has done for me, that's so life changing. It's changed my life. It taught me how to be present. And I'm probably one of the most present people you'll ever meet. I remember every word everyone says, and my memory is incredible, but it was always really bad.
Really?
It was super bad. I couldn't remember anything, couldn't remember people's names, but now I remember every word everyone says. And the reason why, it's not about the brain chemistry stuff, it's primarily because I was never present. So it taught me how to be present permanently. And because I'm present, I'm actually here and I'm listening, That made a really big difference for me. And so now you cannot practice gratitude until you know how to be present.
Wow.
Because the problem with it is, when you're present, that's when you can, okay, I'm healthy right now. I'm breathing. I have all my limbs. Like I live in a first world country. Like all this stuff, that's what you can really think about when you're here right now. Generally, when you're not here, you're surfing between the fear of the future and the regret of the past, That's kind of like all of us entrepreneurs are kind of in that zone. But yeah, psilocybin actually taught me how to be in the middle of it, which is right now, and it's made profound impact for me.
Yeah.
And we're all like mildly depressed, as entrepreneurs,
For sure.
So this changes that a lot significantly. It makes a pretty big difference for me. But from a spirituality standpoint, it helps me, get closer with myself and understand it. And, when you're present, you could truly express gratitude. And then you realize at that moment that everything is internal. There's none of this exogenous stuff is out there. And while I was practicing all of this and learning how to be present, I learned that the real things that define my character are not related to my businesses or my work at all. It is primarily my family, my friendships, cultivating new relationships with new people, and like health, wellness, and fitness. That's all it is. Any of this other stuff it doesn't matter to me. I caught myself when I was running a public company, specifically in the beginning, when I was getting smashed sometimes by these trolls and in the forums, and then also the writing articles about me, and smashing my stock. It was like collaborated, like it's a really crazy thing that they do. They'll write, oh, this guy's driving around a $2 million Bugatti, super overpaid, and they'll smash my stock that day, like crazy stuff. I would find myself like hiding in a corner somewhere, physically changing, I would actually physically start morphing, and
Wow.
from the stress, and it was so bad. And that's when I realized that I had to make a change, in my life. And a lot of it, the progressive, the fate, the path that I was on, led me to psilocybin. So it has had profound impact for me. And I'm happy that people are really trying to discover it. And so the difference I try to explain to people, microdosing is not mushroom journeys, it's very different, and you don't even feel high, if it's a real microdose, you don't feel high.
Right.
You just feel mood enhanced, and you feel a little bit happier and very social. So a lot of people that I've recommended it for, they quit drinking, they quit most of their other vices, and they just do this. And it's helped them so much, and it opens them up, like actually truly makes them extroverted and social. Whereas like alcohol, they think that, it's helping them, but it's actually making them sloppy, not sharp, and okay, they can be social, but it's like, it's different. Or shrooms are just, it keeps you really sharp,
It's changed my life, man. Microdosing. I've also done some full journeys. Have you ever done like a full trip or no?
I have. I've done a couple of them, but not with, not like a shaman journey.
Right.
But I've done them before, and they were, they're really interesting for me. They're very profound, and I get the benefit from it later on. A lot of times I end up with like a bad trip and it turns into a good one, but so I kind of like feel confined in the journey. I haven't done it right yet with a shaman, and I'm going to do that this year, but I have done other journeys. So one of my friends owns a company called Better You Care, and they're a telehealth company, and they do this all around the country, and they have this ketamine therapy.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, and so it's a lozenge. So you put it in your mouth, and you swish it around your mouth for about 12 minutes. It absorbs in your cheeks, and you spit it out. You don't swallow any of it. And you have this blindfold and the specific playlist, and you're laying down for like an hour and a half. And it's profound.
Wow.
So you can get so deep. So the analogy I give people is you're on the Autobahn with no other cars going 150 miles per hour, and you're directing yourself because you take about 30 minutes before the journey to write down all your intentions for the journey. So it's all like embedded in your brain subconsciously, and you remember the whole thing. You're pretty aware, the whole time. It's not like a abstract journey where like a mushroom journey, you're just like seeing shit, This is not like that. This is like very controlled. And then, you're flying on this Autobahn, like in processing thought. The analogy of that, like the opposite of that, is us processing thought in natural time, which is we're driving around West Hollywood or New York City, fully interrupted, stop and go, lights, alarm bells, phones ring, like just I got this meeting, nonstop, right? Well, what the ketamine does is disassociates you from everything, from the alarm bells, from your body physically. So you just have the screen and nothing else interrupting you, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so like I could process like 2 or 3 months worth of scenarios in an hour and a half, and it would take me 2 or 3 months in normal time, because like there's no way we could process thought like, clearly without interruption in normal time. Like how are we going to do it? So we're doing that. We're actually like microprocessing all the time, but there's so much going on that it's impossible to actually get through a situation. So when they say do the work, you got to do the work. I want to do the work inside. I need to like, work. I need to get closer to myself. People saying all this stuff, right? So that's usually comprised of like, hey, I got a therapist, or I'm journaling, which is fantastic. It's really, I respect people for doing both of them because they're doing something, The therapist thing for me, it doesn't work for me, but other people, I'm sure it works great for them. I like, instead of a therapist, I like mentors, like kind of talking about stuff with them and they suggest things to me, but therapists are just like really just trying to understand your thoughts and spit it back to you.
It didn't work for me.
Didn't you? Yeah. Like, what's my interpretation of what happened in your head? Like kind of like, first of all, I don't even know if I communicated what happened to me the correct way to this person. And then they're going to like spit it back out to me. Right. So that's that, right? That's like the one end of the spectrum. I call that like the beginner level.
Yeah.
And then like the expert level is like these medically enhanced meditations, right? So it could like however you get in that meditative state. Could it be a ketamine journey? Could it be a mushroom journey? It could be like something like that. People are doing this in ayahuasca, right? So you're in this like deep meditative state and you're doing the work. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not like a fan of any specific medium, right? Like it could be ketamine, mushrooms, or whatever it is. But to get in that meditative state, like get in that meditative state however you can, because that's where the work happens.
Right.
That's where you can actually see stuff and understand it. And by the way, you remember every single part of it. You don't forget any of it. You remember the whole thing. Yeah, I remember all of it.
So you're hallucinating?
No, you're not hallucinating, actually. You're not seeing anything. You're just thinking.
Feeling and thinking.
So my last one I did, it was my fourth one, ketamine therapy. It was like right after, I just had a breakup recently.
Yeah.
And it was a really hard one for me. And I went through, like I was really upset at this person. And then I went through this K journey. And then I was, for an hour and a half, I was just crying the whole time. Like my pillow was wet in my face. Everything was insane. And then I came out of it fully flipped 180 degrees.
Wow.
And I just like came out of it because the whole time I put myself, my intentions were like, I don't want to be in this perspective. I want to see her perspective. I want to put myself in her place, and I want to change. I don't want to feel these feelings. I don't want to feel like hate, and I don't want to be in that place. So that was my intention. So then I ended up basically flipping 180 degrees, understanding her perspective, putting myself in her place, right. And then I flipped to being empathetic. Like fully empathetic and like reaching out to her. I had blocked her. I unblocked her and I unblocked her. And then I went into, like I say, I need to do whatever I can to help you. This is all about you. So like, let me do whatever it takes. And I said, at the end of this, like, I want to break the cycle for you. I don't want you to feel abandoned. Like your ex-boyfriends, they're all bad guys and they have all done all this kind of stuff to you, but I want to break the cycle. So I'm not going to be that. I'm going to be extremely supportive. I'm going to give you everything you need and I'm going to be friendly and I still love you, but we can't be together. Right. So it had completely changed and I'm still that way with her now. And she tells me, she's like, this is so hard because you're so kind to me and I've never experienced this before. So yeah. And I did it for her, but I did it for myself, because I feel great being able to, like flip like that. And I couldn't have understood that perspective without being in that deep meditative state.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes to get in that place,
That's so powerful because it takes some people months, years sometimes to get over breakups.
You got to get processed. And so like the way to process that is to have uninterrupted processing time, essentially, like to put it in a real technical way. Yeah.
And you very rarely, like you said, we're so busy all day. I don't even think I have an hour a day where I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So these breakups take like sometimes a year or longer, right? I want to like cut the curve, I want to shorten it, like abbreviate the whole thing. Because like, why does it take a year? Because there's like all this thought that has to be processed and all this process you got to go through. And it's called doing the work. You got to do the work, right, to get there. But why don't we just pause time and do big blocks of work,
Yeah.
Like in these meditative states. And like all we're doing is just that. We're forgetting about everything else. We're just focused on that. And then you process through it way faster. So like, yeah, I mean, you could do like two or three of these like in a span of like a couple months. Mm-hmm. And then you're done with it, whereas it could have taken a year. So.
I love that because there's people that are in long relationships, 3-5 years, they break up, and then you're like, oh, you shouldn't date for a few years, right?
Sure.
To get over it. And
right.
that could be damaging because women can only have kids between,
mm-hmm.
8, 16, and 35 or whatever.
Sure.
So that could be a long amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why they say that is because they think that normally it takes that long to process through it.
Normally, yeah, it probably does, but with this method, I'm excited to try it, honestly, because we have a lot of traumas that we don't know about from childhood as well, which I'm now uncovering because my parents got divorced. I thought that was normal. So growing up without a father, I had some trauma for sure.
Yeah, I learned a lot. Like in my first couple ketamine therapies, that I did the. And by the way, I have like a to-do list at the end of it. Like in my head, I know like all the stuff I have to do, and I start attacking it like right away, like right after.
Nice.
My first one, it was really interesting. I had this like. I was a bad kid, growing up, and I put my parents through a lot of pain. And I was just around a lot of bad kids, and so I was getting in trouble all the time. We're stealing cars and shit as kids, like dumb shit, and like I lived in the Bay Area. It was like really bad. So I was always getting in trouble, and my parents, like they didn't deserve to feel that. And then I ran away at 16.
Wow.
And I never went back. Yeah,
Damn.
it's crazy.
You
but
didn't
like,
talk to them?
No, not for a couple years. But then you know what? Like my parents are so close. I talk to them every day. Like I love them. They visit me like 4 or 5 times a year.
Nice.
We have an incredible relationship for the last 20 years or more. Like it's really great. They're my best friends. And but I put them through a lot of pain growing up, and I didn't. I always knew that, but I didn't know it was a thing until I did this K therapy, and then like I was. It's crazy. Like I've done 4, and I'm always like. I wake up just crying, like it's a lot, and I don't normally, I'm not usually like crying, but you need to, like, I think, in the right, in the right venue, but
right.
And I realized that there was a lot of unresolved guilt for me. And so like, I reached out to my parents, I was talking to them like, yo, hey guys, I caused you so much pain, and you didn't deserve any of that, and I need to make it right. So like, I've been working on that, and then I had some stuff with my brother too. Like there's some stuff between us that because his girlfriend, and I didn't like her, and he's with her still, and just all this like stuff. And so it kind of pushed him away. And
oh, wow.
And I realized that I didn't realize that I did that, and that's why my brother was distant from me. And so like I've been working on that, trying to fix all that stuff.
That takes
too.
a big man to own up to that. Honestly,
yeah, for sure. And so I mean, I've always been super protective of him. And I just needed to to like. Realize that like, I need to step away from that and really just be like, time is limited. I love you. Another, the third one I did was really profound. It was really interesting. I realized that time, I was understanding, I've always been a fan of this, but like time is the only real currency we have, right? And it's the only one that's not replenishable, right? Like everything else you can get back. Money you can get back, like gold or whatever it is. But the time is gone. You don't get it back. So then I was thinking like, okay, like what would like the natural progression of this conversation be? It would be like, hey, my time is so valuable that I got to spend it wisely, right? It didn't end up going that way. It actually went the other way, completely opposite, which was my time is not that valuable. My time is infinite because my time will always be here for the rest of my life. But what is finite is the people around me. Their time is finite. Like my parents and my brother and all these people, right? Their time is limited because I'm going to be around still, for the rest of my life, however that long or however that is. So I need to spend my time improving other people's lives.
Interesting.
And so when that happened, when I started realizing that, a lot of others after like a couple days, things started epiphanies. You start getting these epiphanies. It's really cool how that happens. And I realized, you know what? Okay, if that's the thing, their time is finite. I need to be spending my time to improve their lives or helping them win or helping these people get to the next stage. And it's just all people around me, not just my parents or my brother or whoever.
Right.
Then in that case, why is that? It's because what? Because I get real fulfillment only out of helping other people win. Like I only get fulfillment from that. I don't get fulfillment from doing anything for myself. Right. And I look back and I'm like, what did I do? I bought a car, bought another house. What does that do for me? Like I don't feel shit, It does nothing at all. But every time I see someone win or help them get to the next level of their life or whatever it is, that's when I remember all of that, and that's when I get the best feeling because I'm adding value to people's lives. So then I realized, okay, my time, needs to be spent on there, and that fulfillment really comes from them that, this is going to be a new path. I need to spend the next 10 years of my life just focused on helping other people win. And by the way, This came from a ketamine journey.
Insane.
So now, I have my next 10, 12 years of my life are going to be based on, it's a completely new path. I have a book coming out in March. It's called Winning by Osmosis. Should be done soon. And I got another book at the end of the year, which is the microdosing guide, how to dose out of any situation, completely unrelated, but two areas that I talk a lot about. But yeah, I think that, that's the new thing. Like, I really just want to focus on helping people get to the next level.
So powerful,
whatever
man.
it
It's
is.
so relatable. I mean, you could give a homeless man a $5 sandwich, it'll make your day. And then you could buy yourself a car. I mean, you pulled up in a Bugatti and you won't feel as good.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff anymore, man.
It's crazy.
Just, it's kind of ridiculous. And like, yeah, my whole vibe has been changing. You know, I don't wear like jewelry. I'm wearing like Hindu prayer beads, and like, I'm not like, I don't wear watches or any of that stuff. I don't want to be intimidating to anyone. I don't want any like, preconceived notions of me. I want people to talk to me as if like I'm just some like, they don't know anything about me. I'm just some guy,
Right.
Let's just talk. Whereas if I'm wearing like a $500,000 watch, it's like, it's intimidating, and I just, that's not me. I don't want to be that guy. So yeah, the cars, I'm just a car guy,
Yeah,
it's a little
cars
different.
are fun. I just caught the G-Wagon.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I held out as long as I could, but needed that tax write-off, man.
Oh yeah, 6,000 pounds tax write-off.
So that materialistic phase, was that a big part of your life in your early years?
No, I was never materialistic. I was just a car guy.
Okay.
So, like, it's hard to explain, because I know we had a conversation outside, and you said you don't know if you really like, care about cars, you don't really know about cars. Yeah. But see, the people that are car guys are like really into like, we're kind of like car nerds, So that Bugatti is like an engineering marvel. So it was the fastest production car, when it was made. It was like 1,000+ horsepower. So it's really interesting. And by the way, there's 40 of them in the country.
That's it?
Yeah, it's 40 in the U.S., and there's 400 made.
Damn.
Worldwide. So, I mean, it's a unicorn, you know what I mean? It's like really rare.
It's an asset.
It's doubled since I bought it, you know? And so, yeah, it's on its way out. I'm trying to sell it right now anyways. But, so it's kind of like, all the cars I have are like really interesting, like a bunch of old Porsches and stuff, It's kind of like, it's like, when you drive around an old Porsche, nobody really knows what it is. It's just like the Porsche guys that know, like, oh, that's a very special Porsche, The Bugatti, most people think it's an Audi TT or something like that.
Yeah, the guy asked what the hell that
the guy was like, what is that? I have no idea what that is, So yeah, it's like never really had a real materialistic phase. Like, I wear stuff, no brands. Everything I wear is from Japan, though, So I'm like into fashion and stuff like that, but like never been a materialistic dude.
Nice.
Just I think that we're a lot deeper, lot smarter than all that stuff. Because like the people I've been around are always bigger than me, and I always did that right. Always been around guys that are much bigger than I am, and I look at them and I see how they are. So my best friend is MySpace Tom. Mm-hmm. Tom's the simplest dude. Like you see him today, you see him tomorrow, you see him the next day. Looks like he's wearing the same clothes, but he's got the same clothes like 10 times, 10 copies of them or whatever, right? Yeah. Real smart. I'm the smartest guy I know. Best dude, highest morals and ethics. I learned a lot from him. My core values are shaped after his,
Wow.
So we have, we've been best friends for a long time, like over 20 years. So, those are the kind of people that have shaped me, know, and I'm happy that I've been able to add value to their lives to be able to attract them. That's the key. It's like a lot of people are like, I want to be around great people too, but like, how come I can't find them? It's because, you have to be able to add value to people's lives. Now I have an example. So I have an assistant right now, is a 26-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. I found him 4 years ago. And, I've been working on him for a while, and he, when I found him, he was super depressed and suicidal, and I helped him get back into it, like snapped him out of it. He was drinking, got him off that, got him on psilocybin, and
nice.
I flipped, and I've done a bunch of K therapies with him too. Like when I do them, I have like 5 or 6 people in my house,
dope.
And they do it. Anyway, so he's on a great track, and he's like, 8 months ago, he came to me and said, I want to work with you somehow. This is kind of like a mentorship in a way. He's like, I want you to mentor me, but I'm like, I don't have time. And most mentors won't have time to mentor people. It's like people come to you all the time. It's like, I don't really have time, but like we could work together somehow. So the kid said, hey, I want to work for you. You don't even have to pay me. It's like, pay me the bare minimum, whatever. I'll work 12 hours a day, and I'll work 7 days a week for you. What do you have for me that I can do? And I want to learn your business, and I'm going to add as much value as I can. I said, well, okay, I do have some stuff that you can do. So I gave him some stuff to do, and within 2 or 3 weeks, he was doing everything.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah, so he's adding so much value to my life. He's taking so much stuff off my plate. He learns so fast. He's working 12, 13, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. no complaints, nothing. Just wanted more work, just wanted to learn. Now the kid is doing really well. I mean, he's making like $50,000-$60,000 a month for himself.
Damn.
In one of these businesses that I taught him. You know, I have a short-term rental business. We have about 30 properties, and it crushes. And
Airbnbs?
With Airbnb is like 10% of our business, but I'm on proprietary software integrations with like 50 different platforms, online traveling agencies through APIs, and so that's where all the demand is. It's not on Airbnb. Anyways, so I taught him that business. He's running all of it, and he's doing really well. He's got his own properties now. So he's growing, and that's kind of like he attracted me by adding value to my life.
Right.
So a lot of people, always like, how do I get these people to mentor me? It's kind of like you got to figure out how to add value to their lives to attract these people.
Absolutely. So when you were 16, you said you were a troubled kid and you ran away.
Yeah.
What was that value you provided to that first mentor to get you out of that slump?
Yeah. So, I was always a smart kid. I was always getting 4.0, like really great grades. And I finished high school early at 16. Mm-hmm. I went to community college, and I was in college, and I started, this was around the time like 1994, where Silicon Valley was just starting to like, the dot-com boom was about to happen, like
right.
20. And then 2 years later, dot-com boom happened, like 1996. And, there was a shortage of like people, And so I started working in 1995, 1996, I started working for tech companies in their call centers. It was really crazy. Started working sales, selling software on the phone. It was really crazy. And then I crushed, and then I kept growing. Then I moved into business development, and for these enterprise software companies. So I was selling like Oracle.
Got it.
I was selling Oracle back in 1997.
Wow,
it's crazy.
That was when I was born. Jeez.
Enterprise software, and it started growing and crushing, and and then moved into other roles in other companies and just kept growing from there. But the way that I attracted these people, I always had mentors at like every company I worked for. Yeah. It was be like someone in senior management who'd take me under the wing because they see how sincere I was. They see that I was willing to do anything, and I did not complain. I did not have any entitlement. So the entitlement is the thing. It's like, I work for you. I'm entitled to this. But it's like, if you have an opportunity that's golden, you don't need to have the entitlement, because that opportunity is worth so much more than the money you're getting paid for it. And a lot of times you shouldn't even get any money because that opportunity is so great, right?
Right.
And there's places like that, for example, Chad. We talked about Chad.
Yeah.
Chad worked for me from 2004, and Chad did this to me too, like same kind of thing. I met him at a MySpace party in 2004 in Chicago, and he was stalking me on MySpace for like 6 months. He said, "I want to work for you. I'll do whatever it takes, like whatever." I'm like, "Hey, we're throwing a party in Chicago. You can help us out, So he said, "I'll do whatever it takes," and he basically ran the whole thing, and he did everything he could. And I was like, "Oh, this is a good kid." And then I gave him more stuff, and he crushed it. Just like did not even care if I paid him or not. He just did it, and then he became a right-hand man.
Nice.
At that time. And then I brought him to my next company, which the one we took public in 2017, and he was in business development. He didn't know sales. I taught him sales. I taught him business development, and he crushed it. And we did that for a long time. So yeah, it's always about adding value, and forget about like to a job or a mentor, but like my mantra is add as much value as you can to any partnership, friendship, customer relationship without expecting much in return. Facts. Because what happens is it comes back to you, because when you're adding that much value, guess what? You're valuable.
That's
not rocket
facts,
science.
man. I love it.
Yeah.
And starting off in sales, that's another common story you hear with successful entrepreneurs too. Being able to sell is such a powerful skill.
Yeah, we can sell anything to anyone, and it's not hocus pocus. It really is just showing them the value of whatever it is you're doing, right? It's like at the end of the day, like we don't want to sell anything that's not valuable to anyone, and just showing them the value of it, whatever it is how people are really successful in sales.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're taking a step back from business this year to focus on some personal stuff.
Yeah, I am. And actually it's a sabbatical from enterprise businesses, like the bigger stuff that I've been doing. I do have a tech company still. It's based in Ukraine. It's a mediation platform, basically monetization solution for publishers, app publishers, specifically in the connected television space. So we're like apps on smart TVs, like Samsung. There's an app store in there.
Yeah.
App developers are creating content for that, like streaming apps and stuff like that. But see the size of that screen?
Yep.
It's huge, right? Yeah. So the commercials or the ads on that are commercials, basically. But they're, the same kind of commercials that you're seeing on linear television, except you could target that user because you have an IP address, and you can track the performance of that. And usually you'll have a QR code. So when someone scans that QR code, you'll end up with a landing page on your phone, and you can do, you can sell shit or generate a lead or whatever,
That's
right?
smart, because TV ads were dying, but this sounds like it's reinventing it a bit.
It's the fastest growing media in history, media channel. And it's the best performing. It's the biggest screen,
Right.
So anyway, so I have a company that does that, and then it's in, it's in stealth still. It's growing, and and we have a short-term rental business that we are going to scale to 100 properties in the next year.
Is that all in LA?
It's a lot in LA, but we have we're opening up Tulum and Miami,
Nice.
in the next few weeks, actually.
And on the financing side, are those creative? Or are you putting down 20%, whatever percent for those properties?
So, I'm a buyer, right? So we have a bunch of properties here that we own, and because when you have over 10 mortgages, you can't really get a conventional full doc loan anymore. It just doesn't make sense. So you have to get this kind of loans. They're called DSCR. They're the debt service loans, right? And it's based on the cash flow of the property. It's not based on your assets or anything. It's based on the rental survey of that house.
Got it.
And okay, this house is going to do, like $25,000 in like a long-term rent, $25,000, and the mortgage is 20, done. Like you're approved, and whatever you put down 20%, typically 20%, right, on those loans. The problem is those are 8.5% right now.
Right.
Okay, or 9%. Like anywhere from like 8 to 9%. It's a very high, and it's interest only, but it's very high. So I mean, we could still cash flow them, but I prefer not to do it right now. So we're doing this thing now. We own a bunch, but then we're also, like, in other markets, we're doing rental arbitrage now. So we'll just rent them and basically
Make the difference.
Re-rent them. Rent them and re-rent them, because right now, like for example in LA, there's more rental properties on the market than there has been in 27 years.
Damn.
It's flooded right now, and the reason why is because all these people that have these great loans, like 3%, 2% loans, they don't want to give up those loans.
Right.
They need to sell their homes, but they don't want to sell their homes either. So they're putting them out in the market for rent. So it's a great opportunity because landlords are like, hey, as long as you're not going to destroy my house, I'm cool with it. The permitting's a bit tricky here.
I heard that, yeah.
We have figured it all out. So
Vegas just got wrecked. I don't know if you heard about this.
Dude, like New York City's shut down,
Yeah, same with Vegas. They just took down every single Airbnb.
That's crazy.
It's nuts, dude.
It's the hotel mafia,
Yeah,
So,
out there in Vegas, it's got to be rough, yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy. So, like instead of like playing in this liberal bureaucratic nightmare world that and Vegas is not liberal, but whatever. It's like kind of like a nightmare everywhere. We're just going in other countries now, like
Fuck the US.
We have no problem in Mexico. Like Tulum, we're getting, like
no cartels pulling up on you.
$1,500 a night. Yeah, there's no cartel issues right now yet. Yeah, $1,500 a night for some of this stuff. It's really great. Yeah, and like we'll find other markets too that are great, that don't have regulation. That are fully open and that are not non-commercial. So
absolutely, Ted. It's been a pleasure, man. Where can people find out more about you?
You could add me on Instagram, Ted Skilla, 2 L's.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for coming on, my man. Great episode, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.